All right, any questions? Jackie?
You talked about a mop sink in the pavilion.
Yes.
And regular, like Weber grills. Will the mop sink be big enough so people can clean the grills?
No.
No. Thank you.
Here's the problem, is the grills, for various reasons, what we're proposing is the typical park grill, which is a pedestal, it's heavy gauge steel, so the grates they're fixed. So you can't remove the grate. It's not that it wouldn't fit in the sink, but you can't get them off. So we're trying to keep it secure, but the mop sink is there just for somebody to be able to clean up afterwards. Maintenance.
All right, somebody over here, yes.
Question and comment. Does the treehouse go? And the comment is, in all of your design, kids with golf carts will find a way to find their golf cart on a 5-foot walkway. Can you make sure in the design that they can't get their golf carts through this?
Okay, so the comment is make sure
I
that
know,
kids
but you
can't get
go
through
on the
on your
bike
golf
path
carts
sometimes.
on the 5-foot
We'll
walkways.
take care of that.
All right, John.
The golf carts. Well, first of all, the golf carts. Now, what we are proposing, like I said earlier, it is 5 feet overall, but then we've got a 4-inch curb on either side. To be quite honest, I'm not sure you can get a cart in less than 5 feet. I would be surprised, but they could ride the rails, I suppose, which could be interesting. So I would say to that one, what we've done in other cases, we just put a bollard, a 4x4, or something like that, centered so that pedestrians can go. What we got to watch again is accessibility. We don't want to preclude accessibility for somebody that has a small automatic cart, wheelchair. But typically those can be maneuver in about 3 to 4 feet. But I'd really like to keep an aisle there of at least 4 feet for accessibility. And a cart will not go through 4 feet. That was the one question. The other question was treehouse. We're recommending, and this was a very early discussion here, and is to try to recapture the feeling of a treehouse without maintaining a treehouse that we feel at this point probably isn't safe. You got a living tree here, and quite frankly, today we wouldn't take that same approach in building a treehouse because we wouldn't have nails and screws and lags and everything else going into the tree because it's going to damage the tree. It probably already has. But what makes it more difficult is maintaining it, because as that tree moves, which it's going to do, you go out there, the day we went out there, there were probably 2 or 3 balusters off the guardrail up there that were pulled loose, and it's because of the movement. So the feeling was that it's a very romantic notion to keep it, but with the status of the ladder, the platform, the guardrails, the roof is in pretty bad disrepair. It was probably best to replace that with the viewing tower and with some of the elements in the youth playground area.
Yes, over here.
Yes, since this is a custom playground,
Yes.
plus custom design, are there any safety regulations or legal implications with the ropes on the ramp? Because I could just see a little one putting his head through the ropes and then tripping off the ramp. But I know with any kind of pull strings on drapes and that, there are a lot of regulations. Is there an issue with that on this?
Playgrounds are not regulated like the building code is regulated, for instance. I mean, as an interior designer or as an architect, we have regulations. If we're doing a commercial structure or residential structure, we have to adhere to these certain regulations that the state or the federal government prescribes in terms of accessibility and that sort of thing. We have yet to find, and we've searched pretty hard, yet to find any agency that regulates playgrounds. Now, there are some recommended leaflets, if you will, out there by the federal government and others that would tell you, well, don't use toxic woods, don't use this, don't use that. But they don't really get into the design elements. You really, unfortunately, you really have to get into common sense and try to look around the corner and say, what could a kid do here? How could he hurt himself in this one, in all these different little venues that you've got in here? What's jumping up as a red flag? You know, most playgrounds will have netted climbing devices. Can a kid slip off of there and get caught up? Yeah, probably. We are going to go through this and go through with a fine-tooth comb and try to make sure at any of the climbing areas we've got grab rails so that when they get up to the top of the ladder or the top of the ramp, they have something to grab a hold of to stabilize rather than going through the rail. The rails are a real problem because when we started out, and I'll go back, when we started out here, for instance, I said, well, let's use the net. And I said, no, wait a minute, we can't do a net there. Kids will be climbing up the net and then falling off the top. So we have to use vertical ropes in this case because they can't climb the vertical ropes. And, you know, you come down here, it's the same thing. You know, what are you going to do? You can only, and I go back to the old statement that I made yesterday and sundry other times with the committee. I said, do people go to parks because they're the safest place to go? Probably not. They go there because they're fun, and yes, a kid's going to get scraped, and they're going to get a splinter, and they're going to get a bruise. Hopefully with parents' attention, and that's the key, parents and grandparents paying attention to those kids that are there, you don't have somebody get hurt. But to design a playground where it's bulletproof, I don't think you can do it. I don't think it can be done. I don't care whether it's plastic, wood, stainless steel, unless you give them just a flat playing field with grass, that's the only one that's going to work.
Well, that leads to the question, should there be a sign posted that you're at your own risk kind of thing, like the beach if there's no lifeguard or something?
I think that's probably why, and that's up to council to probably, you have a few here that might give you some advice on that. I'd like to put a disclaimer on here, you know, like the very same thing, you know, regarding the designer, that the designer will not be held liable for any stupid moves that anybody makes out here. But you know, somebody's going to do it. I mean, somebody is going to get scraped up. It happens in every playground. By the way, and I sort of skipped over a couple of points in the playground while we're talking about that. There will be some more conventional elements in here as well as the custom adventure playground. There will be some swings, the little spinning devices in the toddler area. There'll be a dish swing type of thing and some stepping stones, logs type of things, just balancing kind of things. So there will be some stock items that we're going to pull off the shelf and mix in with the custom elements. I wish I had a better answer for that, but I don't. Sorry.
Don, in the front row.
The existing walkway and sitting area to the northwest, I believe it is, where you go out into the marsh, is there any changes being made to that, or will that continue to be there, or what happens to that?
You're referring to this platform here, Don? The game plan there is to refurbish the walkway, refurbish the platform, install benches similar to what we've depicted there in the gazebos. The only difference is there won't be a roof on it. But there are pieces over here that are in very bad disrepair right now and really are unusable. So
that be upgraded?
Yes, most definitely. That's probably one of the worst areas right now for disrepair. There are some other areas back here extremely unsafe. By the way, while we're talking about safety and liability, that old real estate platform that's put up there on the west side, that's precarious at best. I mean, the ladder is like this, the treads are like that, and there's no handrail. And the guardrails don't meet code. So would I recommend you leave that there? No. No, that needs to be gone. It worked to view condos out on the beach temporarily, but as a permanent solution, not a wise thing. So thus the gazebo out there to replace the one that is in really bad shape.
Do you have a projected start date and a projected finish date?
Well, I think the committee would like to start tomorrow. But the target that we've got on the schedule right now would be to try to turn a shovel on this late this year to early next year. Late this year, quite frankly, is ambitious because of the bid process, negotiations, and so forth. Because at this point, like I say, we're looking for a go-ahead to get the bid documents ready, which will hopefully happen here on Friday. If that happens, we kick it into high gear, get the bid docs out. It'll probably take 30 days to get the bids in, do all the required paperwork, make a recommendation to the committee of here's who we think is appropriate to build this facility. Time frame, that came up yesterday, and we haven't spent a whole lot of time on a construction schedule because so much of it depends on who is employed to construct it. If it's a smaller residential builder, for instance, well, first of all, let me back up. I recommended yesterday, and I would still recommend that this is not a job for a small residential builder. This needs to be somebody that has a commercial license because they know the ins and outs of commercial construction, and this is considered, being a community facility, is a commercial facility. So it needs to be somebody that's licensed to do that type of thing because you do have to deal with ADA, grading of walkways and so forth to meet codes that the residential guy doesn't necessarily deal with every day. So it should be somebody commercial. If it is somebody commercial in the light commercial area, I would guess from the turn of the shovel to the last nail being driven and the paint drying, it will probably be a period of 6 months. Maybe 4. We could probably find people to do it in 4, but I'd say 4 to 6. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of downtime because a lot of this, certain areas can be cordoned off while the work is being done, so the majority of the space can be used on a daily basis. Just have to have cordoned off areas right in the immediate work area.
Do you have any idea who your prospective bidders might be for contractors?
We have not talked about specific builders. I would suspect that this would not be, at least I would again recommend, that it not be a public bid invitation, that this would be an invited bid invitation to certain individuals who we've had past experience with and we feel are qualified to do the kind of work that's expected here. That being said, there are some contractors that have done work here historically and have had good success that I think we could lean on, and the ones I'm referring to do have commercial licensing capabilities. So it's not, this is not the kind of project for a Manhattan, but it's not the kind of job for a guy working out of his pickup truck either. So it's that group in the middle, the smaller, the Alden Whites and the Dickie Smiths and people like that here in close proximity, but not necessarily here strictly on island, but close by.
All right, if there are no other comments, and I don't see any, we wanted to thank John Cotner for being here today.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much, good work.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here today. We hope that you'll keep us posted.